It was a huge news story that did not make the local headlines. I'm sad to say that Senator Bill Hagerty revealed yesterday on the Matt Murphy radio show, thank you to Bell K, that he is a big Motley Crue fan, although he refuses to wear a Motley Crue T-shirt on the floor of the United States Senate. That's the kind of guy
that
he
makes
is.
me question his love of the band.
Well, you know what? Some people like decorum more than they like music. That's all I can tell you.
That's true.
Hey, it's Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show. That's the voice of Headless Bell. More on him in just a moment. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We appreciate you being here on this Friday, September 22nd, 2023. And today, I was today old when I realized that fall did not always start on September 21st. I thought that the fall equinox, right? There's the winter solstice, the summer solstice, the autumnal equinox, and the spring equinox. And I thought all of that was on the 21st every day of the year. Little did I know that it floats. And apparently it does float. So the first official day of fall is tomorrow, not yesterday like we were proclaiming. And I apologize to those of you who believed us. We strive to get it right on the Matt Murphy Radio Show. And when we do not, we endeavor to correct it. We sincerely regret the error.
What was it Borch used to say? To never believe anything he says unless you've researched it yourself or it's already consistent with what
something
you
you already know to be true. That he would lie to you just to test you. I'll do the same thing, too. Occasionally, I'll throw something out there that may or may not be true just to keep you on your toes. That's what we do on the Matt Murphy Show. All right, 615-737-9986. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday, giving you opportunity on the phone lines and on the super text line to chart a direction of your choosing with regard to the conversational points that we make on this radio show. In other words, you can direct the conversation in any manner of your choosing. Really, we do that Monday through Thursday as well. Let's be honest. We float in ways that no other radio show in America floats. But I'll tell you this, on Fridays, I'll act interested. That's a Murphy guarantee. 615-737-9986. It's episode 421 of these proceedings, and we're pleased you've decided to join us. So I want to do something different today. We've got Jay St. Clair coming up for Friday. That's at 1:05 this afternoon. We will speak to Jay about several matters in the news, to include, obviously, the union strike. For those that do not know, and Jay has become a favored segment on the Matt Murphy Show, and I knew that that would be the case because he was always a favorite when I was in Birmingham for the 20 years I was down there. So Jay is a legal scholar and a fabulous legal mind, and a good friend, and a son of the state of Tennessee. But he focuses his area of concentration when it comes to the laws on employment law. And primarily, he represents companies when there are lawsuits brought against those companies by labor. So Jay St. Clair knows more about labor and employment law than anyone that you'll talk to today, unless you're a labor and employment lawyer. And so he has a better understanding about union contracts, a better understanding about what's going on with the union, and a better understanding about how long this is going to last than most anyone in the United States of America. We will ask him about the UAW strike and if and when that's going to come to Spring Hill, Tennessee. The expectation is that it will, considering that the union is declaring, well, they announced today, as a matter of fact, a massive expansion of the strike. Let me give you the story. The United Auto Workers, the UAW, announced today that more workers will go on strike as the union and automakers continue to be unable to reach a deal, despite the fact that the automakers offered them a 20% raise. That wasn't big enough. The union announced 38 new plants across the United States will join the partial strike at noon. Well, that was 9 minutes ago. Against the big three automakers as negotiations continued to fail to produce a new contract for the 146,000 workers, with strikes expanding against GM and Stellantis, but not Ford. Wait, Stellantis? Am I saying that right? What is Stellantis? You know, I try to tell you when I'm confused. What is Stellantis? Is that what Chrysler used to be?
I don't know. I've never heard it. Maybe it's a parent company.
I'm assuming so. Would you just Google that?
Yeah.
It might get you into trouble. I can't guarantee anything, but Stellantis. Stellantis. I assume that it's a parent company for Chrysler. Wait, no, GM and Chrysler are partners.
It's the Dutch company that bought Chrysler, Peugeot, and Dodge.
There you go. And GM is Chevrolet, right? General Motors is Chevy, I would assume. And GMC? Yeah, sure.
I believe that's correct.
What we'll do. That's what we'll say. But not Ford, by the way, as the company has cooperated more than the others, according to the UAW announcement. The UAW first announced its partial strike earlier in the month, a week or so ago, striking at 3 plants: GM's plants in Wentzville, Missouri, Ford plant in Wayne, Michigan, and Stellantis' Jeep plant in Toledo, Ohio. Today at noon Eastern, that would be, well, it's 1 o'clock there. So, yeah, this has been happening for just over an hour. All of the parts distribution centers at General Motors and Stellantis will be called to stand up and strike. We'll be striking at 38 locations across 20 states, across all 9 regions of the UAW, according to the UAW. In negotiations, Ford has offered to reinstate cost of living allowance benefits, given the right to strike over plant closures, job security for up to 2 years in the event of an indefinite layoff, enhanced profit sharing, and the conversion of temporary employees into full-time, according to the announcement. So they will not be struck. More on this as we have a conversation with Jay St. Clair coming up in the 1 o'clock hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey.
We forgot the stream title.
Oh, yeah. Well, we still have time. It's only 12:11. We're just getting underway. I've not even mentioned the various platforms for which people can avail themselves of the radio show. You can listen online, stream anywhere of your choosing, whatever streaming platform you use. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You can also obviously listen on your old terrestrial radio, on your radio dial, 99.7 on the FM side of things. And then there's Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And as you make your way over there and chat with us in the F&M Bank chat line, you'll see the title of today's show. It is episode 421, entitled...
It's a long one. Live from the Ukrainian front lines, Matt Murphy counts the grift. Noon to 3 p.m. The libertarian lunchtime. Zelensky's buying, but you're paying for it.
He's up in Canada today, begging for money up there. My understanding.
Yeah, he already begged all he needs from us this week.
What's fascinating to me is the suggestion, and I got one in my email inbox last night, that if you have any questions about how this money is being spent, if you have any questions about exactly what the end of the war is going to look like, then you are somehow a Putin puppet. You are pro-Russia. That you want Russia to take over the world. If you have any questions about where your $135 billion of your money's going, and there was some question about how much of that is in money and how much of that is in armaments, tanks and whatnot, look for the, quote, humanitarian aid. That's where the grift comes in, okay? Because that money goes somewhere, and I'm not really sure where it goes. It's starting to remind me, I thought of this last night. Remember the famine in Ethiopia that happened in the 1980s? And the amount of money that the United States of America and good people like me and you sent to Ethiopia?
That's what Live Aid and We Are the World and all that was born out of.
Yep. An effort to help those starving individuals. I still maintain that Sam Kinison had the right idea.
It's funny, though.
I mean, was he not right?
He was 100% right.
Just move to where the food is. You're living in a desert.
Nothing will
grow here. Ever. It's still funny. So we give a lot of money to organizations that we believe in, and in some cases we give to our government because they put a gun to our head and demand it, and then the government in turn gives money and food and grain and all of these things. And the government of Ethiopia was so corrupt. It was never about the people not having well, let me phrase it a different way. It was never about an inability for good people to do the right thing and help people who were starving. It was about a government that refused to grant access to the people who needed the food and needed the money to the food and the money. It was a monetary grift on the part of the Ethiopian government. It was a failure of the Ethiopian government to not do what was necessary to feed their own people. We saw this in other regions of Africa during the same period in time. Zimbabwe is a good example with Robert Mugabe. And the idea that at one point Zimbabwe was the breadbasket of Africa until such time as Robert Mugabe took over and then destroyed all of the farm settlements because they had the audacity of existing during British colonization and they were owned by white people. And so you kill those people, take over the farms, and the people that take over the farms don't know how to farm, and so their people begin starving. Similarly, the comparison that I'm making is I don't know that this money is going to the right place in order to battle Russia, and I'm asking that we get that information.
Mugabe run their economy so bad that they had to print a $1 trillion note.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
And ridiculous because they did not learn from recent history, right? The Germans tried to do that in between World War I and World War II, print their way out of depression. You cannot print your way out of monetary depression. You will create hyperinflation to the point that your money becomes worthless. Because, as we briefly mentioned on the Chris Hand show during our crossover today, some things just represent things. You know, the time on the old clock doesn't really mean anything. It's just a representative designation of what we determine the time to be. Similarly, your money in your wallet, a $100 bill does not have any physical or material value beyond a $1 bill, except that which we assign to it. And as we assign value to it, that value denotes your work, the value of work, of a good or a service. But we assign it that value. It does not come with that value, unlike a hard asset like gold, for example.
There's some magic money theorists out there whose heads are exploding at you right now.
Yeah, probably so. Whatever. Y'all come on. It's First Amendment Freestyle Friday. I'll take all of you on this day. And I want to do this. Today, I thought, was the first full day of fall. And so I decided to do this radio show this way prior to learning that tomorrow is actually the first day of fall. Many of you may not know that the first day of fall, I mean, it is the unofficial start of holiday season. You've got Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have New Year's. The last quarter of the year has a lot of different holidays involved in it, and a lot of people get in a festive style attitude, which reminds me that the first day of fall also denotes the beginning of another holiday called Festivus. Festivus for the rest of us. And I thought, in the spirit of Festivus, and considering the lack of interesting news going on around the world today, why don't we spend a little time with an airing of the grievances?
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
You gotta hear about it! So, I want to dedicate the first hour of the show to the airing of the grievances. And I'm going to start. So, pet peeves. What really grinds your gears? What gets under your skin in a way that you understand it to a certain degree, but it is inexplicable how angry you get as a result of something that someone else is doing. And I will give you an example from my real life that happened earlier today, which is in part what inspired the airing of the grievances. Pet peeves on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm driving in today, as I do, on 40 westbound, coming into the city from Mount Juliet. You know, almost to the airport, where there's construction going on, so you really have to mind your manners. You have to mind what you're doing. and I noticed that a car in front of me is driving as if the person is drunk. Now, this is about 9:15 in the morning. So I'm going to assume as I'm driving in, as I'm watching this car weaving, that they're not actually drunk, which it turns out they were not. They were on their phone. There are few things in this world that drive me up a wall like watching someone risk everyone else's life on the interstate because they believe the text, whatever damn text they're sending, is the most important thing on the face of the earth, and you just need to get out of your way. It is a combination of recklessness and selfishness that drives me insane. Now, I'm here to tell you, friends, that I've done it. I've been guilty of it, and I admit it. But if you are on the interstate, I drive next to this person. She's weaving. She's in my lane. She's in her lane. She's in the other guy's lane. She's in another lane. And I'm telling you, if you witness this, if you are able, 9 times out of 10, if you get next to the person, they're there. They're on their phone. They're texting. They're doing something on their phone. Now, I am a small L libertarian. I believe that government serves best that serves least, only when absolutely necessary. And for a long time, I spit the bit on laws that would regulate cell phone use within your car. But about 7 or 8 years ago, I gave it up because I began to realize that people on their cell phones, specifically people texting and driving, are more similar to drunk drivers than anything else. It's not, quote, distracted driving in the sense that you're looking for a CD. You know, you used to have CD players in your car, or you're changing the radio station, or you're trying to get a piece of gum. No. Find people that are weaving in and out of traffic, that are floating in and out of their lanes, and you get next to them, and 8 times out of 10, you'll find that they're on their phone. Just texting away. There she is, some young 20-something, endangering the other drivers on the roadways. Drives me insane. That is how we start the airing of the grievances on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. On this Friday edition, your thoughts, 1222, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. The world-famous clock store, big, bright, beautiful. Man, oh man, they've got the gun selection that you're looking for. They specialize in Glock handguns, but they also have many, many other handguns, long guns as well. A huge selection of firearms, accessories, ammo, performance parts. You buy a part and they'll install it for you for free while you wait. Lenny McGill and the world-famous Glock store came to Nashville, Tennessee like gangbusters from California several years ago. He came here because of our belief in the free market, because our belief in the Second Amendment, and we're the better for it because they are the best in the business when it comes to performance parts. They manufacture most of them right on site, like pyramid triggers, tungsten guide rods, extended controls, and the like. They also have the most helpful staff that I've ever witnessed in a gun store. It's easy for the staff of a gun store to talk above your level of expertise. They never do that at the Glock store. Plus, they have the incredible shooting rooms that we talk about all the time. You'll have to see them to understand them, and trainers to help you get better and more proficient in your operation of your gun so as to protect yourself and your family. So tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the world-famous Glock store when you stop by. Airlane Drive, only miles from the airport, just off of Elm Hill Pike, minutes away from the sound of my voice. Go by and see them. See them online at glockstore.com or shoot270.com, or better yet, go see the world-famous Glock store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1227. Cue up the open one more time. We'll use it a couple of times just to reset what I want to do today on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. Yes, we recognize there are other matters going on. There's a latest development in the UAB workers' strike. There are other developments in Washington, D.C. We're covering the news like the afternoon sunshine. But I also want to delve into pet peeves because I've got a few more to tell you. You know, everyone's like, oh, I love your pet peeve, Matt. I'm just getting warmed up. Give it to me.
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people.
That's right.
Now, you're going to hear about it.
The airing of grievances on the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Number one, drivers on their phones. Number two, and I'm getting to your calls. Number two, I think it goes without saying, Friday Eve. Yeah, Friday. I mean, it's just awful. But that goes to actually a broader subject of a pet peeve of mine, and that is people that choose to use different words for language that is perfectly serviceable for what they're trying to say. For example, hey, Belle, would you like to go across the street and get a cup of coffee?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, Belle, would you like to go across the street and get a cup of Joe?
No.
Hey, Belle, want to go across the street? Let's get a cuppa?
Okay.
It just drives me insane.
Hey, you're paying for all this, right?
A cuppa? Also, is it in the contract for weather people that deliver the weather in the morning to talk about the puppers and the kiddos? Because they're constantly talking about the puppers and the kiddos.
See, I'm in agreement with you on all of this except Friday Eve.
Friday Eve is Thursday. Right?
Well, that's one way to say it.
Well, on Friday Eve, the puppers and the kiddos need to get bundled up because it's going to be a little chilly willy outside. Might want to grab a cuppa. Shut your mouth.
It's Friday Eve
don't
day long
get me
on the
started.
Matt Murphy Show.
All right, Mark is next in Nashville with a thought on clocks. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mark.
So you mentioned it earlier, and I'm actually from Florida, and one of my pet peeves was moving here with to fall back because it gets dark at 4:30. And last year I actually celebrated because I heard that it was the last year we were going to set our clocks back and that this year we were not going to do that. Has that changed?
No, we're still doing it because we can't get the federal government to do anything about it because, sadly, Tennessee can't just set their own time and leave it. I take that back. What is it? I want to get this right for you, Mark. Tennessee could go to permanent regular time and stay there. They could opt out of daylight saving. What they can't do is say everyone wants to go to daylight saving and stay there, right? That's what people want.
Right.
But Tennessee can't choose to stay on daylight saving time without an act of the federal government. They could stay on standard time. I think I have this correct. They could stay on standard time if they wanted to, but nobody wants to do that. But because those states like Arizona, I think, stayed on standard time, they never switched. There are a couple of others. Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, never switched, but who cares? They're out in the middle of the ocean. So Tennessee wants to do something about it, but it's going to take literally, Mark, I hate to tell you, an act of Congress in order for this to happen.
I thought Governor Lee passed something and that everything was set, and they said next year. I got all excited thinking the last time I got to see 4:30 darkness, and now today I was wondering because I was hearing grumbling, but so you're saying they're going to we got to set the clocks back in a few weeks.
I think that's right. I think, and if I'm wrong, someone will correct me on this front because I know we have a lot of people from the governor's office that listen. I firmly believe, and I remember the smattering of conversation that you're referring to, Mark. I believe in this issue so much that I think that I would remember if we actually got something accomplished along their lines, but those lines. But I don't think I've heard that. So
I know Heidi Campbell had a bill in the assembly that would move us there and keep us there, but there was a contingency in it that the other states surrounding us had to do the same thing. And I don't know if that passed or not.
So, and I'm not trying to confuse the point, but I just want to reiterate. So, states opted into the switch, right? And states had the ability to not opt in at the time that every other state did. So, Arizona was one of those states that did not. Portions of Indiana, I want to say, do not. If I'm not mistaken, Phoenix City, Alabama stays on Eastern time, despite the fact that it's in Alabama, because they're linked with Columbus, Georgia. They're the same city, essentially, divided by a state line, so they don't want to confuse the hell out of people with regard to business. And there are other communities that do it this way. There are some states, Tennessee, that have to deal with their state being in both Eastern and Central time. But if you opt out, you have to opt out to Standard Time. You're not allowed to opt out per the federal government to daylight saving time. But that's what everyone wants to be a part of. Everyone wants to be daylight saving time.
Why does the federal government have to make everything complicated?
That's exactly right. So would you just let us go to it? Nobody likes it. The only excuse that I've ever heard for Standard Time is that parents don't like their kids hanging out at the bus stop when it's still dark in the morning. To which I say, well, put up a light. That's not a good enough excuse. 1234, Super Talk 99.7, WTN, more airing of the grievances coming up next. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're feeling sluggish or run down, if you want to feel more energy and you just don't know how to get that accomplished, if you feel tired and or grumpy and you chalk it up to middle age, gentlemen, I have a solution, I have an answer, and I have a telephone call that you need to make to Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic, for decades now, they've been helping men just like you know your numbers, and that's so crucial to understanding your health, gentlemen. We like to pretend that those numbers don't exist. We'll just rub some dirt on it. We're tough guys, right? But sometimes you can't just rub some dirt on it. Sometimes things happen naturally in your body, and you need to replenish those naturally occurring things, like your T levels are a good example. So the Tennessee Men's Clinic, they've successfully treated thousands and thousands of men just like you who were sluggish, run down, low energy, and they've helped those individuals get back to a full life. Tennessee Men's Clinic, they're there for you. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Or 615-208-9090. 208-9090. Two locations to serve you, one in Midtown Nashville, the other in Cool Springs. That's in Franklin. Tennessee Men's Clinic. A slight correction, Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 12:39. Happy Friday. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. We're also airing of the grievances. We'll have Jay St. Clair coming up in the 1 o'clock hour and Friday Mac Attack in the 2 o'clock hour. Happy to have you along for the ride. So the Tennessee General Assembly did, in fact, pass a law last year. The General Assembly supported the end of daylight saving time. In March of 2022, the Senate unanimously passed a bill known as the Sunshine Protection Act of 2021 to make the change permanent in early November 2023, meaning we would spring forward in March of 2023 but never fall back. However, the federal government has to sign off on this, and they have yet to do so. Senator Marco Rubio, if there's any reason to love Marco Rubio, this is it. He's made it a cause of his. I know Senator Tommy Tuberville is on top of this as well. I wonder if Bill Hagerty, along with his love of Motley Crue, has a hatred of daylight saving time. I don't know. Or maybe a hatred of standard time. The Senate is on board with this. So Marco Rubio introduced a bill that would make daylight saving time permanent. And in doing so, he stated that, and rare is it that you hear a politician more succinctly than this. He said, quote, "The ritual of changing time twice a year is stupid." He's right. It is stupid. It is stupid. However, the bill continuously stalls in the House of Representatives. Why? In addition, writes this article, President Joe Biden has yet to state his stance on daylight saving time. I don't think that Joe Biden knows what frickin' year it is, much less what time it is. So thank you to the alert super texters that noted that we did, in fact, pass a law. But my concern was correct that in the United States, many states have enacted legislation to implement permanent daylight saving time, but the bill requires congressional approval to change federal law in order to take effect. The Uniform Time Act of 1966 permits states to opt out of daylight saving time and observe permanent standard time, but does not permit permanent daylight saving time. Here's my question.
Why is any of this the federal government's business?
Why is this the federal government's business? Who gave the federal government? Where in the Constitution does it say that the federal government controls time? Makes no sense. Here's what we ought to do. Just uniformly go to daylight saving time, stay there, and dare the federal government to say anything about it. And let the chips fall where they may. Somebody has to fall on the sword and be the first. Why not us?
I actually think it's in the Second Amendment right next to the word muskets.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or daylight saving time, or prohibiting the free exercise of time thereof, or abridging the freedom of time, or of your watch, or of the people collectively to petition the government for what damn time it is. That's another pet peeve. I'm writing it down. Billy is next up in the borough. It is an airing of the grievances. Hello, Billy. How are you?
Hey, Matt. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well, man.
Hey, listen. The Zipperhead Wokenites have triggered me. And my wife hates you for this because yesterday you were talking about Louie from the Great White North, and I was on my way to Nashville to take her to surgery, and I called into your show. And I'd stay on hold forever, but that's just one more reason for her to give me the look. But, I earned my Eagle Globe and Anchor, and for somebody like Louis to come down and to a country that afforded him the right to get rich and famous and then talk about her, that really went all over me. So that's the airing of my grievance.
Well, I'm glad that you aired it. Yeah, Louis C.K., we were talking yesterday about Louis C.K.'s position on immigration. He believes that America should let everyone and anyone in, unfiltered and undocumented, because America's got it going too good. So Louis C.K. comes down from Canada, enjoys the American freedoms that have made him rich, lives in a gated community and now wants to ungate the entire country of the United States of America. Burns me up, Billy.
Well, me too. And I served with a guy named Sanchez. I'll never forget it. He was from Central America, and he fled during the Contra, mess that was going on. And he joined the service and served 2 years to get, put on the path to citizenship. And he didn't just pick any branch of the service. He joined the Devil Dogs. So, that's just one more reason for me to really be ticked at Louis.
Well, I love it. That's what we do. We air the grievances on occasion on the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The official start of fall indicates the official start of holiday season and Festivus for the rest of us. And that includes airing of the grievances. And so we're getting your pet peeves out on the table today. David is next in Hendersonville with his. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm well, man. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call. I got two. You hit one. The texting and driving. I have been hit twice, mind you, by people texting and driving. Once I got rear-ended going down the highway, and the other time my wife and I was going camping, and they run into the back of my camper while I was sitting at a red light. My other one, I hear all the time coming from this station called WTN. And that's not pronouncing words correctly, like elementary instead of elementary, and 100 instead of 100. So the last one, it doesn't really, I'm just kind of using you guys as a example.
No, I get it. I understand. And look, I will not claim that I am not guilty of mispronouncing words on occasion, but I will tell you that it is a part of my pet peeve that people do it all the time. I'll give you another I get picked on because of how I pronounce this word, and I'm going to try to spell it for you and see if you'll say it. Okay, you ready, David?
Okay.
Vegetable.
Okay, now say it.
All right. So, no, I want you to say it.
No, I want to hear you say it.
It's vegetables. Everybody laughs at me. There's an E in there that's Why is the E in there if it's not vegetables? It's vegetables.
I got one for you. Laugh at me.
All right, go.
Chimney.
Wait, say it.
Chimney. Your fireplace.
Chimney.
Yeah, I can't pronounce that right. Or roof.
Well, it's just chimney, right? It's not. I don't think there's an extra E in there.
No.
But here's another one. Here's another one, and I remember the late great Paul Harvey. The rest of the story. Remember Paul Harvey, David?
Oh yeah.
So I would listen to him, and he did an advertisement or an advertisement. That's your choice, and he would talk about DIAPERS, and he would say it's diapers, and everybody says diapers.
Yeah.
There's an A in there. It's diapers.
Is it diapers?
I think it's diaper. Look, Paul Harvey said it was diapers, David. I'm going with diapers. I love it. Thanks, man. Mispronunciation of words.
Do you have any issues with silent letters?
Yes, I have a lot of issues with
silent
letters.
Psychology is an issue for you.
It's a great issue for me. I'll tell you that. Well, mostly the silent L's. I am a big advocate for pronouncing the silent L's.
Give me an example.
Salmon.
Okay.
I went to a restaurant and had a delicious cut of salmon last evening.
Rusty.
And afterwards, I fell down and hurt my knee. And when I got home, I had to put some salve on my knee.
Well, there's another word that's got a silent in it. Knee.
Knee?
Yeah. I
cut my salmon with my knife.
Yeah.
And at the restaurant with me was a dwarf, and his knife looked like a big sword.
Please tell me this has been practiced.
I know. I've always said dwarf, and people look at you funny. I'm like, look, there's a perfectly serviceable W in there, and there's a D in front of it. Let's start pronouncing both of them. Chuck is next in the Burrow on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. What grinds your gears, Chuck? What's going on?
Driving in the fast lane on the interstate, people won't get over.
Oh, Lord. Let's talk about it, Chuck, because you're hitting my buttons. When did this start? I don't understand when this started.
People not paying attention in driving school or not studying the book. I don't know. It's been going on forever. I drive the roads every day, all week long, and no one gets over.
And it's not like it used to be, or I give a little bit of grace for those that are going above the speed limit, right? If they're going 75, not a lot, because my belief is, and what my grandpa taught me, is that if you're going slower than the fastest flow of traffic, then you need to be in the right lane. And the left lane ought to be reserved in normal conditions for passing.
Correct.
But
and the percentage of accidents go up if you pass on the right side.
Well, and what's scary, and no, you're hitting on it, but because nowadays it's not that people are going 75 and think they're going fast enough. You encounter people on the interstate in a 70-mile-an-hour zone, and they're going 55 in the left-hand lane. And so what now is going on is that people have come to expect that when they get behind people slower than them in the left-hand lane, those people aren't going to get over, so they assume they're not. And I've watched it happen, I bet you have too, Chuck, where those people just go ahead and swerve to the right. As they're swerving to the right, the people in front of them try to swerve to the right as well, and this creates accidents.
Yes.
Well, that's a great one. It's a great one, and it infuriates me. And you know what I do, and I don't encourage people to do this, but I have on occasion done it myself in the right circumstances. If you get behind someone in the left-hand lane, Chuck, that's going slower than you, considerably slower. Let's say, you're in a 70, they're going 60, you're trying to go 70, and they're slower than you. Give them a minute to get over, and if they don't, pass them on the right and get back in front of them, and then go slower than them.
So what I do is I pass them on the right, and as I'm getting over, which I'm switching lanes from the right to the left, I put my right-hand blinker on to try to signal to them to scoot over.
Well, my wife tells me that my method is a little bit dangerous because of road rage or whatever, that somebody's going to pull out a gun. But my point is this: they get so mad at you, the people that have done it to. So, like, you pull up behind them, they won't get over. So you go to the right, you pass on the right, you get back in front of them, and however fast they're going, you slow down slower than them. So you're doing exactly the same thing to them that they just did to you, right? Exactly the same thing, and they get mad at you. And my question is, why are you mad at me? I'm doing exactly the same thing to you that you did to me. Chuck, great call. Great pet peeve. It's 12:52. We'll continue this on the other side. We'll also talk with Jay St. Clair, our good legal expert and good friend. That's right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling wants to speak with you. Jeff Eddy is the man with the plan when it comes to your heating unit. Have you gotten maintenance yet? Why would you do this to yourself? I don't understand it, because you know what's going to happen if you don't get that maintenance done. If you don't get those ducts cleaned and make sure that everything's clean as it can be, when that heating element comes on, all of that dust and all of that dander that has settled over the last 6 or so months, it's going to get fired up and hot and stink, and you don't want to smell that smell. Spend the money and make sure that, A, your heater is working as it should, B, that you don't have to smell that smell, C, that you avoid any costly repairs that might need to come down the road, and D, just to make sure that you maintenance the unit and you're running efficiently as you possibly can so you're saving money during the wintertime months. Those are 4 good reasons to call today Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling and going ahead and scheduling a maintenance call. I trust Jeff in my home. You can trust him in yours. He is as good as they come when it comes to the heating and air conditioning industry. And all it takes is a telephone call to get the process started. 615-784-4424. 784-4424 or efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net. Free financing on your unit. Ask them about that. Plus, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. Call today. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN 105. Good afternoon. Glad you are with us. My name is Matt Murphy. We host a proceeding on a day-to-day basis, Monday through Friday at least, from noon until 3. We call it the Matt Murphy Show. It is on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can join us on those airwaves. You can also join us. Internet streaming is available to you wherever you might be. Plus, we're over on the television side of things for what it's worth. Super Talk TV is up and running. Man, that's something I forgot to talk about Dan Mandis. I forgot to talk with Dan Mandis about this morning. Remember, I was talking to him about Super Talk TV, and I was begging him for a monitor in here, and I wanted to talk to him about regular guests getting up on Zoom so that we could show everyone what our regulars look like. Like this next guy. A lot of people want to know. They say he sounds like Andy Griffith. He's as smart as Matlock, and he's I say one. He's my best friend. He's Jay St. Clair. It's Friday, everybody.
Good morning, Americans.
Not morning.
It's Friday.
It is Friday. And let me tell you something. As good as you think Jay St. Clair sounds on the radio, he's even a handsomer man. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Man. You know, I'm doing great. I was at the racetrack last weekend, Matt, and I set a new personal best fast lap. And I'm just so proud of myself.
You know, it occurs to me that we best remind folks of what we're talking about or catch them up to speed when we bring these things up. For years, long before I knew you, you raced stock cars, right?
That's right. Yes, sir.
At primarily at the race course that no longer exists in Birmingham. It's called BIR, if I'm not mistaken.
The home of the Alabama game.
Yep. And, you know, I think about BIR a lot, Jay, and I think about you by extension when I talk about the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, and I've kind of made that a cause of mine.
Absolutely. No, the analogies are many.
Because so many people wish that they could go back and raise a ruckus and raise their voice and save that track. But once they're gone, they're gone.
They're gone. Yep.
So you left BIR and then you got out of racing for a minute. And much like moth to flame, you could not handle it. And you cost me thousands of dollars because you got back into iRacing initially and then got me into iRacing. And, of course, I had to buy all the good gear. And then now
you were pretty good at iRacing.
Well, I mean, I was willing to bump folk. And, you know, iRacing, it's a grumpy way to race a race car. I'll tell you that. But you weren't bad either. You taught me what I needed to know, and then I took it from there and started bumping folks out of the way. And then, you know, if they get mad at you, what are they going to do? Yell at you on the radio? I mean, what? I mean, I raced iRacing. You know what? You'll appreciate this. Nobody else will. I raced iRacing like Denny Hamlin races in NASCAR. And I hate Denny Hamlin. But Denny Hamlin is like, what? What do you want me to do? I'm trying to win a race here. Come on.
That's funny.
But then you got yourself a track car, and you're now back at Barber's on a regular basis, huh?
Yep. No, absolutely. And I'm just, you know, because I'm getting older, right? And you lose a step. That's the phrase in sports. Well, it's not true in racing. And anyway, I'm just very, very pleased with myself.
What was your time?
139.7. I improved it by 1/10 of a second. But faster is faster, man.
I didn't.
It's amazing that, you know, it's like these professional athletes where it's hundreds of seconds, right, to separate. I'm going around a track for 100 seconds, and it's 1/10 of a second apart. It's amazing.
So you sent me that, and I sent you something back like, you the man, congratulations, or I sent you something back because I was proud of you. But when you sent me the time of 139.7, I thought, wait a minute. I thought that, and so I intentionally did not ask you. I went back through our texts, and I found where you had said it at 139.8. And I thought, well, Jay, as God is my witness, I thought to myself, well, a 10th is a 10th.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. It's faster.
Well, congratulations to you. Well, let's parlay this into a conversation about what you do on a regular basis, Monday through Friday, when you practice law. I know you don't miss practicing law when you're out at the racetrack, but
Right.
Money's money here, and I guess the union feels like they've got these automobile manufacturers over a barrel because they offered them, a 20% pay increase, and the union turned it down?
Yeah, no, they want 40% over the life of the contract, Matt. And they got their heels dug in. Their own strikes, selective strikes. They're being really clever about it. One a huge mistake the auto manufacturers made, I just don't know how they allowed themselves to get in this spot, is having all three of the company's contracts expire around the same time. That was just stupid, man. That's never really happened before, and that gives the union great leverage. As you know, I represent a cement company here that has operations in Alabama and also in California. Both of them are union. And we are very careful to never let those contracts expire within a year of each other, because it just gives the union way more leverage. If there's a strike in Alabama, we can still make cement in California, and vice versa, right? They can't shut the whole company down. But if they expired at the same time, they could strike both plants, and we can't make any cement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what the owners of these companies has allowed to happen.
I'm certain you've seen the latest developments today where they announced that they're going on strike more broadly. I guess not every plant, but they're putting their thumb on it, and they're putting the thumb, or the heel of their boot on the necks of the ownership. And they excluded Ford out of the extended strike. What is Ford doing, to your understanding, that GM and this Stellantis is not?
Yeah, I'm going to call them Chrysler.
Yeah, I mean that's what they are, right? That's the old Chrysler.
Yeah, the Chrysler.
Okay.
Jeep Chrysler.
Okay.
Ford is making some concessions at the bargaining table, man, that the other two companies aren't doing. And so again, that's a very clever play by the union. They're saying to Ford, "Hey, look, if you'll play nice with us, then we'll play nice with you." And we can hurt your competitors, right? I mean, the deal is that these people are all competitors. And so Ford is starting to make some concessions, and so the union is saying, okay, well, we won't hurt you as bad as we're going to hurt the other two guys.
Do you believe the union is being reasonable? I mean, or I don't know if, and I know sometimes we enter an arena where you may have or would represent involved parties. So if I'm doing that, I apologize. But I mean, I'm asking your broad take, because I lean on you so much with all things law, but especially, I mean, this is your area of expertise.
Well, no, it is my area, and I teach a labor law class at the local law school, and the first case we read every year has this quotation in it, that one of the eternal struggles of life is for workers to get paid as much as they can, and for companies to make as much profit as they can. That's been going on since the dawn of time, or at least since there was commerce. And it'll always be going on. So, when you say, are the unions being unreasonable? The way I think about that, Matt, is it's two ways. One is, are they using all the bargaining power that they have? In other words, they're just trying to get as much as they can get. Well, that's not unreasonable, man. But that's not unreasonable, and they've got bargaining power, and I don't begrudge anybody from using bargaining power. So if we're talking about it at that level, I would say no, they're not being unreasonable. They're just driving a hard bargain, and that's not unreasonable.
But it's also not and I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but it's also not unreasonable to expect that ownership, if they agree to what the union wants them to agree to, I don't expect that ownership's just going to eat all of that and say, hey, I won't take it out. They're going to pass that along to the consumer.
Yeah, no, that's right. But there's the other level, and I think this is the level that you're really asking about. Are they asking for too much? Here's the way I would answer that. I tell this in my law school too. If I represent companies that are non-union and that want to stay non-union. I also represent some companies that are union. But if a union shows up, well, as they did here recently at Amazon, and as they are all across the country, the Starbucks, right? The Starbucks is targeted all across the country right now, and we're representing the union. Well, if a company came to me and said, help us fight this union, what is the best argument we can make that you should want a union? Well, I can tell you absolutely the best argument you can make. If you get a union, you're going to end up like Detroit. Not Detroit. Sounds like Detroit. I got one word for y'all that are interested in having a union. Detroit. Go look at Detroit right now. In the 1950s, man, it was one of the most thriving cities in the country. But over time, I blame the companies as much as I blame the unions. They drove up the cost of production so much, largely because of these union contracts, that they got their lunch eaten by the agents. Along came, it was originally Datsun. You're probably too young to know that Nissan used to be Datsun.
I remember Datsun pickup trucks. Yeah, those itty bitty teeny tiny pickup trucks.
Yeah, pieces of junk at first. And the same thing about the Japanese cars. I forgot what Nissan used to be. But anyway, Detroit right now looks like a third world country, man. And so, yeah, you reach a point where you kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. And this has a feel of that to me. A 40% wage increase over a 5-year contract, man, that's a heavy lift, man. When you've got non-union companies like Tesla's going to be the big winner out of all this. They're non-union. Will they drive the companies into bankruptcy? I don't know that it'll go that far. You know what the average pay of an auto worker is?
I would love to know.
What? With benefits? $120,000.
What?
$120,000
right now.
Right now.
And they're demanding not a 20% pay increase over the life of the contract, a 40% pay increase over the life of the contract.
They want to be at $180,000, man.
That's average.
Yes, sir.
Well, how then, and I have any number of questions coming in on this, and guys, get your questions in on the super text line, 615-737-9986. I would absolutely love for you to filter. I'll filter those questions through the super text line to Jay St. Clair. One listener, Tim, writes in and says, how can auto companies charge even more for the price of a car given the recent price increases? If they feel like they can't do that, how in the world do they compensate for these renegotiations? I mean, and I guess that's that's ownership's argument at the bargaining table, right?
We can't afford it. We just can't afford it. You're going to put us into bankruptcy. And because trust me, they don't want to strike, man. Right? I mean, they're in the business of selling cars. Well, if you can't make cars, you can't sell them. But they're saying that, look, this is not sustainable. If we end up paying our factory workers $180,000 a year, we're going to go bankrupt. And they've done it before. I mean, gone bankrupt.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I don't really remember the details of any of this because I was too young, but Lee Iacocca, right? Did he not deliver Chrysler out of bankruptcy and bring them back to the prominence that they've enjoyed over the last several decades?
He did, and he also invented the Mustang.
Did he really?
Lee Iacocca designed the very first Mustang.
Huh. Well, that's something.
Brilliant guy. Yeah, he's a brilliant guy.
All right, hold your thought there, Jay. We'll get some calls coming in here on this subject and other subjects in just a moment. 615-737-9986. Hold off on the pet peeve calls for the moment. We'll do that more in the 2 o'clock hour because we had a theme rolling and a lot of you had called in. We will speak with Jay St. Clair. We'll continue to talk with him about the United Auto Workers strike, where it's going. I will ask him when we come back how long he foresees this to last, plus much of your comments from the Super Text line and your telephone calls. 120 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a hot slate of phone calls awaiting answers from Jay St. Clair, our good friend, legal correspondent, legal expert, Tennessee man as well. 124. That's all we'll say about the Tennessee relationship, Jay. I was going to bring up the volunteers in some form or fashion, but you know what? I didn't want to be that guy, so I decided not to. Isn't that nice of me?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd leave it.
See, I didn't do that. I'm not responsible, Jay, for what's playing in the background. I have no responsibility for this whatsoever.
Does it disgust you?
No, I love it. I absolutely love it with all of my life. Jay, probably not so much, but I do. Jay, a number of questions coming in on the super text line and a lot of them coming in on the phone line. So I'm going to get to the super text line first. Every year, that's a lot of comments. Let me try to get to. I'm a quality manager in automotive in Middle Tennessee. The average is that average price is misleading. The wage rate in Tennessee for a line operator at GM is around $19 per hour. Says
yeah, the way it gets to that rate in a lot of other places, a lot of overtime. There's a Mercedes plant down here, and I know the numbers down there, and those people are making about $100,000 a year. But it's a lot of overtime, man. And so, when this guy says the hourly rate's maybe only $20 an hour, well, that sounds low to me. That may be a starting rate, but how much overtime does that person work?
And
I'm talking about total compensation, including benefits, and benefits are about 25%.
Right. And one, and I don't know if you're familiar with what this super texter is asking, but 2731 says, ask about the concessions the workers gave back in 2008. Workers are making less now than they were before this, taking in cost of living. What about the billions upon billions of dollars the company is making because of those concessions? The strike is about so much more than pay. Auto workers do not make $120,000 a year. That is misleading. And I'm not asking you to necessarily advocate on the part of the company. Just any response to that?
Well, no, that's exactly what the union is saying, and there's a lot of truth to it, Matt. There were hard times back in 2008, right, when the bottom fell out of the economy, and so there was concession bargaining then, where they had rollbacks. I think that's when they put the two-tier wage structure in. They held current employees, but there were lower rates put in for new employees. So, yeah, there were some concessions. I do think the car companies are currently profitable. I hadn't looked at that. But, a lot of what's going on with this is electric vehicles, man. Like this climate crisis fraud continues. And all these car companies are cranking up to start making electric vehicles. And the capital cost of that is going to be tremendous. They're all going to have to invest billions of dollars to build new plants. And so that's a lot of what they are looking at here.
Let's get to a few telephone callers who want to weigh in on some of the conversation that's currently going on. Let's talk. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to line 5. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege, and I'm going to skip. Scott, hang in there. I'm skipping over you, but I'm going to go to a caller by the name of Myra, and she's calling for Jay St. Clair. Hello, Myra.
Well, hello, Jay. Hello, Matt. How are you both?
This is the real Myra?
This,
yes.
The real deal.
Your very favorite Aunt Myra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're so sweet. It is so
self-proclaimed.
Nice.
Well, I just have a couple of comments / one is kind of a dual purpose comment / pet peeve, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
I need to understand that why when, let's see, a record was set. No, not just set. A record was crushed at Barber Motorsport, and you just glossed over it in the lead-in like it was just not a big deal. And I would like to just spend a little more time understanding just how important that record was. I know there's more important things going on in the world, perhaps, but to me, a race fan, I just want to hear Jay kind of talk a little bit more about that and what that meant.
Well, you're so sweet, Myra. Folks that don't know, Myra's been out to the racetrack. Myra has hugged the neck of Lucky the dog.
Yes, indeed.
The official mascot of Barber Motorsports Park. But Lucky's doing great, by the way. No, it's great. I had a professional driver drive my car, and I learned a lot from that, Myra. And I'm just loving it. Life's really good.
So
love it.
And see it, and this just goes to Myra's spirit. And Myra's been a long time caller to my show, even before I got to Nashville. And Myra, your spirit is such that you take such a positive attitude on this, and this is the way that I would ask that same question. Jay, would it have meant more if you had gotten that 10th from 139's flat to 138.9?
You know, it's faster, right? We're not getting any younger, and so it just tickles the fire. You know, I'm going to have a really big birthday next week. I'll be 65 years old. I never would have imagined that the fastest I ever went around a racetrack was when I was 65 years old.
Well, you
gotta love that.
Don't look back, because something might be gaining on you, Jay. That's what Satchel Paige used to say.
Smart guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, and one last thing, I apologize. So, do you know if Iacocca? I do know I shared that knowledge that he did kind of create or come up with the Mustang. Any idea who invented the Pinto? I think that's an important point or question to be asked.
I don't know.
No?
Whoever invented the Pinto, they should have worked a little bit harder on the back bumper.
Yeah, true
that.
that.
The Corvair.
There you go. I bet it is. I hope y'all have a great day. I know you got lots of callers. Love your show, Matt.
Thank you, Myra. I appreciate you, and thank you for calling in. Scott is next up with Jay St. Clair to talk about the UAW and the raises. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm well.
I just want to take and make a comment. I've been seeing on TV about the UAW, and them trying to get more money and everything, asking for a 40% raise and everything. And the meantime is the employees need to take and put themselves in a position that they'd stop and think about it as far as these owners of these dealerships, the liability and what they have on the line. They don't understand the business side of it. I've been in the restaurant business. I'm retired for 40 years. And, being on both sides, I understand both sides. And they don't understand if you paid everybody with the money they want, just what the payroll taxes on that would be for these dealerships, that they're not taking in consideration. Nobody's even said nothing about. If you paid them the kind of money that they're wanting, these dealerships it's no way that they can do that there. And the CEO, I believe, Ford said the employees there, at least one is making like $44 an hour. There is people that will take them jobs, so they need to be careful what they're saying, because there's people out here. I mean, a lot of it's being done by machines and pushing buttons. So, I mean, there is people that will work for $44 an hour. I can assure you of that.
Scott, let me get Jay to take this up on the other side of the break. I apologize for it, but I've got a quick timeout that I have to take. Jay will take that up on the other side. It's 1:32. We'll also take more of your telephone calls in a moment. It is Ask the Expert with our good friend Jay St. Clair, legal expert, and particularly a great mind when it comes to labor and employment law. It's 1:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and it's as simple as this. When it comes to protecting your home, you need to have, protection for you and your family and your valuables. And if you don't have that protection protected, then what are you doing? Safe House right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville Safe House can provide you with options to protect that which protects you. I'm talking about gun safes, of course, but I'm also talking about protecting your jewelry, protecting other valuables, sentimental and otherwise, within your home. Go by Nashville Safe House and see the incredible selection. It's better than any place in the world. I'd put it on par with any other safe shop. I don't know of anyone that has almost 600 safes regularly in stock. Nashville Safe House can say that. That's a lot of inventory to choose from. They have something for you. Stop by and see it for yourself at NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Or better yet, Go by in person at 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery and talk to the good people of Nashville Safe House. They want to speak with you, and they'll have something for you. And deliver it without a crackhead delivering your safe. They'll know the combination to that safe. It's Nashville Safe House. Super Talk 99.7 WTN cruising through a First Amendment Freestyle Friday on the Matt Murphy Show. Thank you for being with us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that. We have until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Jay has only a few more moments, so I want to try to get in as many telephone calls as I possibly can about a variety of topics. For example, Chris has called in with a question for our legal expert. Chris, you're on with Jay St. Clair. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jay. Hey, Mark. Big fan of your show. I'm dealing with some workplace harassment, and I was hoping I could get your thoughts on it. Unfortunately, I'm a conservative in the workplace, and recently I've been dealing with a lot of harassment, and my property has even been starting to be vandalized in the office.
Wait a minute. Hold on. No, wait. Before we go on here, this voice sounds a little familiar. Is this a Chris that I would know?
No, I'm a first-time caller, Mark. Long-time listener.
Okay, go ahead then, Chris. Go right, by all means.
So, a lot of times you think that this workplace harassment would be done by Democrats and, conservatives are usually a target. But this time I think it's these libertarians in my office. And it seems like a lot of them know who vandalized my property, but they're not telling me. And it just seems like a hostile work environment at this point. So I want to know what my rights are, Jay.
Chris, what got vandalized?
So I had a picture that supported President Trump, and I came into work and it was all marked up and graffitied on, and I just want to know what my legal rights are in this situation because it's getting hostile.
First thing we got to do, Chris, we got to establish damages. A lot of people don't understand this, but after bringing a lawsuit, you got to have damages. This was President Trump. I imagine I'm handing you a doll of Orange Man. I want you to point to me on that doll where you hurt.
What are we doing?
It's really my heart, Jay. It's really my heart that's hurt in all of this.
So emotional damages, Jay. That's what I heard the caller say there. Emotional damage.
Do you know who vandalized it, Chris?
Well, it could be anybody. It seems like it's a big group of the employees that are really targeting me for my conservative views.
He's being bullied.
He's
being bullied in the workplace, Jay. That's what I hear.
Thanks, Mark. I don't even know if I want to show up at work anymore.
Jay, what would you recommend? What would you recommend our caller Chris, who is a first-time caller to the Mark Murphy radio show?
Yeah,
what would you recommend he do?
Mark, I think the first thing that Christ needs to figure out is who has vandalized him. We can't just sue anybody.
Okay, I would sue them all. I would.
Well, I charge by the person. So the more people you sue, the more it's going to cost.
Here's what I would say. Let's leave this to next. Maybe we can figure some of this out next week. But I'll tell you what. Jay, I'll get you in contact with Chad, and you and Chad can work all of this out on your own time.
It's Chris, Mark. It's Chris.
My apologies. I'm sorry for getting that name wrong there. So I'll try to get you in contact with Jay, Chris, and we'll see if we can't work that out. Jay, hopefully you can help that caller out there. That's horrible. The concept that they would vandalize his property along those lines. That's awful.
Yep, I agree with it.
Jay, love you, brother. We will talk to you next week. I know you've got to scoot. I'm sorry for those who are waiting to ask you questions. We'll have to hold those questions till next week. But until then, have a great weekend, friend.
Thanks, brothers.
All right, take care. There's Jay St. Clair. He's got to run on in right now. As a matter of fact, he had to get out at about 1:40. And so we will continue without our good friend Jay St. Clair. If you have thoughts on the UAB story, though, I mean, it's one that's not going away. Chad. What's Chad doing calling me? That's pretty funny. It's pretty good. He is he's determined. I mean, I feel his pain there. I feel like he should be determined to get recompense for the damage done to his heart and soul when he had to walk in and look at those devil horns on Donald. I mean, I don't blame him. And I made a commitment to young Mr. Chris there that I would do everything in my power to get to the bottom of it. I found it shameful that anyone would be a part, any sort of part, of the defamation of his precious property at his workplace here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, several of you are holding with Jay questions. I can't pretend that I could answer them like Jay. If you have pet peeves, go ahead and get those in as well. 615-737-9986. It is the Matt Murphy Show. Matt, M-A-T-T, Murphy Show. The funny part about that gave me PTSD. Have I told you the Neil Cavuto story, Bell?
No, I don't. Well, what is it?
So years ago, had Cavuto on the show. And you know how this goes. You, the producer, my executive producer, would do some primary contact to set the interview up. Cavuto was hawking a book, so it was like a little 10-minute interview. And I got the book, and I had all my questions ready to go. And, Matt Murphy Show welcomes Neil Cavuto from Fox News. And he gets on, and I'm not making this up because Hand did this. He gets on and, hey, Mark, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, right off the front, hey, Neil, it's actually Matt, no problem. I know you do a lot of these interviews, but it's Matt. And as God is my witness, the man said, thanks, Mark. We started dinging a bell every time he said Mark to me. He called me Mark 19 times during the interview. And to this second thinks that my name is Mark Murphy, I suppose.
And had no idea where your station was.
Or who I was. And obviously did not care. So I got a little PTSD with Chris calling me Mark there. 44 after the hour. Let's talk to Robert, who's in Springfield. Robert, I don't know if you had a question for Jay St. Clair, but heck, let's talk one way or the other. How are you, friend?
Yes, I called back in April, toward the end of April. I talked about my nephew getting arrested just up from the Grand Ole RV Park. I don't know if you remembered or not, but anyway.
Yes, sir. I think I do remember that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, he told me to give you an update on that. And he went to court at the end of July, and the judge dismissed all of his charges about the AR pistol. So, anyway, he said you had the Tennessee legislature to think for that. Then he went to court on August, and the judge gave him all of his guns back, and he went Wednesday, and he picked them all up this past Wednesday. So he got his guns back and everything.
Well, that sounds like that ended as best as we could have hoped for, Robert.
Yep, sure did, yeah. But the deal is, he's a college kid. He come in, he's working, and the cops told him if he didn't get out of his car, they wanted to search his car. And he said, do I have to get out of my car? They said, well, if you don't, we're going to jerk you out. And then the guns was in his trunk. One of them was in the backpack. But he did manage to get them all back. But the kid's out a lot of money. And Uber, even before that, even the charges dismissed him. That's what he's doing the Uber runs that night. And he's going to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. They even questioned him before he got off spring break. Even he had to answer questions from his gun charges. So, but anyway,
go ahead.
He did get everything dismissed, and he did pick his guns up Wednesday.
Well, that's great. I hate that he had to go through that. As I remember the story, it seemed just ridiculous on its face, and I'm glad it ended in at least a positive way for all of y'all.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for updating us, Robert. That's cool. I mean, that's good news, right? That's the way that. Thank you, Belle. Let just Anne Murray sing it. That's the way that it goes. I'll take full responsibility for the adjudication of that in a positive fashion. Happy to be here and help. I actually did nothing. All I did was provide an ear of solace for Robert in Springfield, and the good court system in the state of Tennessee took care of the rest. Glad that ended the way that it did, Robert. Thank you for your call.
It's nice to be in a state that doesn't want to whiz all over your rights.
Well, I mean, don't tell some people that. They believe the leadership in this state's ready to grab those guns. Kim is next up with a set of pet peeves. We were doing this earlier on First Amendment Freestyle Friday. It was also the airing of the grievances today. Before you go, Kim, there you go. There you go. That's right. Yes. All right, here she comes. Kim is calling us back with a few of her own pet peeves / grievances on this first Friday before the first Saturday that is the first day of fall. Hey, Kim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Love your show.
Thank you. Thank you. What's on your mind? What grinds your gears? What is your grievance?
People's driving. They don't know how a four-way stop works. They don't know how to stop at a stop sign. They tailgate you. They need to bring driver's ed back to school.
So just driving generally, right? I mean, do you find that text messages are part of the most part of the problem, or is that your experience?
I don't think so. I don't drive. I'm working from home. I don't drive a whole lot. Well, when I go to pick my son up from school, people just, like, if you come up to a stop sign and you're stopped, and then someone comes up to the stop sign, they just feel like, oh, you're already stopped, so I'm just going to go right through. Four-way stops, they just don't know how it works. Tailgating, my son he has his permit, so I'm trying to teach him how to drive. And people are tailgating him, flipping him off. He's going too slow when he's actually doing the speed limit. So people just need to learn they need to learn the rules of the road.
Are there still, you're teaching your son to drive, so I would assume he's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, 16, thereabouts?
He He is 16.
Okay. Is there still driving school? Do you know?
So there are driving schools. However, we live in Portland, so a lot of them are quite a distance from us. I've tried to find people who can help him, drive, but we would have to go meet them somewhere. And I have been open to that. However, people haven't called me back, and so I mean, I'm totally open to it. If anybody out there who has a driving class that can take him and drive. But I mean, he's driving with me. He's driving okay. I just do think he needs a little extra help. But like I said, we live in Portland, so nothing's close to us. But I just think if they had driver's ed in school, it would be helpful to, a lot of the kids that are learning how to drive.
I could not agree with you more, and we do need to teach more of our youngsters how to operate a motor vehicle. And I'll say this too, Kim, and thank you for the call. We're not teaching our young people, at least it's been my experience, that there are rules in society broadly. And if you're not teaching that there are broad rules of society that you are expected to follow, how do you expect that they are going to know that these are not suggestions when you're behind the wheel of a car? These are rules when you're behind the wheel of a car. It's not a suggestion that you play nice and let the guy that got to the four-way stop before you go before you. That's not a suggestion. That's a rule of the road, and you're expected to follow it. So I don't think many of our young people nowadays, obviously your youngster, Kim, notwithstanding, I don't think a lot of these youngsters have any understanding that there are basic rules of society that you are expected to follow. They don't have to be written down for you. You're supposed to learn them as you go and follow them.
Do insurance companies still give discounts to young drivers if they graduated a driver's ed class?
I don't know.
Didn't that used to be a thing?
I think that did. Did you take driver's ed? I never did.
No, I never did either.
I
didn't want my driver's license, so it was like I was weird.
You didn't want to drive?
No, I had no desire whatsoever to get it. My mother forced me to go get it.
When you were 16?
17.
Trying to get you out of the house?
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
I don't blame her. 152, super tight. I'll tell you the story of my grandpa teaching me how to drive. That was an embarrassment. Oh, my goodness. No, well, you know how my grandfather...
For him or for you?
No, for me. You know how he taught me to drive? I'll tell you real quick. We were at Ronnie Hudson's shop. Ronnie Hudson was a grassing company. He was a road improvement subcontractor. So he would come in and grade ditches and stuff and grass ditches when they would build roads, do road construction. And so my grandfather worked on a lot of the equipment that he used in that industry. Well, he had a mobile mechanic shop, quote unquote. He had a huge I think it was an F650, like a big old truck that he used as his work truck with toolboxes, a 10,000-pound boom on it, oxygen settling torch. He had a big electric welder. So he could go anywhere and do anything in a mobile fashion. This was a big truck. It was a 4-speed with a high-low shifter on it. Never driven in my life. 12 years old. We're standing around. It's lunchtime. My grandpa and I he's done for the day. We're about to leave. And the truck's down there at the barn, way down there. And so all the Mexicans are coming in from the field. They're gathering around the shop. They're getting out their Vienna sausages, and they're eating their sausages, and they're just having their siesta for lunch. And my grandpa says, he always called me boy. Hey, boy, go down there and get the truck, pull it around. I said, sir? He said, go down there and get the truck, pull it around here. Never driven in my life. So I go and get in the truck. I've watched him do it. I know to put the clutch in. I crank it up. I try to get it in gear. And then I know I got to get the gas going and get the clutch going. So I'm lurching the truck. So I'm bouncing the truck up and down. Romp, 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 romp. All the way around the one shop. And every Mexican, there's 1,000 of them, they're all laughing at, everybody's laughing at Matt. Everybody thinks Matt's just a hoot. I am in tears. And you know what he says to me when I get pulled around? He says, they laugh long enough, you'll figure out how to drive that thing. My grandpa.
When was the next lesson?
And next time he asked me, I knew better. It's 154 on Super Talk. Friends, Savory Spice wants to be a part of the menu this weekend. What are you cooking this weekend? You got something going on the grill this weekend? Maybe some burgers, maybe some chicken breast, maybe some steaks on the grill. Planning for football. Maybe you're putting something in the oven, some delicious recipe, a meatloaf or whatever, or perhaps something's going in the crock pot. Whatever your dish might be, they've got something for it at Savory Spice. They've got some of the best spices around, the best spices around, and some of the best spice combinations you've ever put in your mouth, and something just right for you. You know, really, Holly and David, I came to realize they understand food as much as they understand spices, and they understand spices a lot, but they're able to tell you what will pair with your food. You tell them, hey, I'm doing some burgers come over here and get this salt blend. Come over here and get this delicious smoked seeds, whatever it might be. Oh, we've got chicken breast. Oh, this is good for chicken breast. Oh, we've got a salad going on. Oh, why don't you try our Caesar dressing that we have that you can mix up in your home, and it tastes much better than anything you're going to buy off the shelf. That's all at Savory Spice, and it's available for you. 2 locations, one in L&L Market in Nashville, the other just off the square in Franklin. When you stop in, smell the smell, enjoy the flavor, and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Savory Spice. United Structural Systems is a foundation repair and waterproofing company serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama since 1994. That's almost 3 decades of satisfaction. Over 25,000 customers, residential customers, have been satisfied. Thank you to USS. When it comes to foundation repair, waterproofing, you need a name that you can trust. You don't want a fly-by-night guy dealing with the foundation of your home. I mean, I laugh because it's pretty obvious, right? You don't want someone that you don't know if you can trust them to deal with the foundational principles of your home in a way that could destroy the value of your house or make it right. Well, when it comes to large home repairs, trust the name USS, United Structural Systems. Over 25,000 people have trusted them, and you can as well. Homeowners simply trust USS. They've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. They guarantee their best at USS. So get peace of mind when you give them a call and get them to your home. 615-488-7855, 488-7855, USS. USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Bell, I'm going to ask you to join in progress, a press conference that's currently ongoing in the Rose Garden, I believe it is, of the White House. So, no. Did you just change my station? Did you just change my you did. I think you just changed my channel.
Sorry, I was actually changing. I meant to change mine because it was on General Hospital.
Oh, well, let me see if I can get back to it. Joe Biden was speaking in the White House Rose Garden, or at the White House Rose Garden. He has created an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. So, I mean, I'm so proud of him that he thought to do this, because now gun violence will go away in the United States of America. Isn't that nice? Can you join this in progress? Go ahead, please. Yay! That received a standing ovation by people that apparently don't understand that this will do nothing to prevent gun violence, but that's okay.
Feels good, though.
I mean, yeah, feels great. There's Kamala Harris. Jeez. He's been everywhere. What? Very windy in Washington.
That's just coming out of his mouth.
That's not his mouth. He looks like Popeye. Arrgh. Wait, what? Why didn't that one work? Along with who?
There's one in California.
Woman in California. But that's not true. Oh, he's whispering. Right there in the microphone. Whispered. And we beat him. This is all Mac Maury's fault, by the way. All of this. It's true. Well, obviously, this new Office of Gun Violence Prevention will get that done.
No, it didn't.
No, yeah, it did not. Wasn't Columbine during the, yeah. I'm not diminishing that people are dead, right? I'm not minimizing that, but this will do nothing, okay? Well, turn this down for a second because, I mean, if he says anything stupid, wait a minute. When he says something stupid, let us know. So
I was going to say we just had, 4 minutes of stupid?
So here's the great thing. No, he's referencing her. Turn it back up for a second. He's referencing. Oh, my God. Did you see what she just did?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking at the crowd.
Thank you. She's motioning.
She's waving.
Oh, hey. Hey, girl. How you doing? I've got $1 million if she speaks. Turn him down. I've got $1 million. I know. I got $1 million if she speaks. Anybody want to take this bet? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay. Yes. Very good. I won't say $1 million. I will say $1,000 charity to charity when she speaks. She at some point says that on this issue of gun violence, we cannot.
Oh.
We cannot
Matt.
allow. We must dream. Here's what we must do. There you go. Mac Maury's with us. About to do a little Friday Mac Attack. Mac, we must dream of a future unburdened by the past.
Unburdened by what has been.
Let us dream of what can be unburdened by what has been. What? No, here's the great thing. So let's celebrate. I want a little. You got some celebration music in there? I mean, I appreciate the Darth Kamala, but I think we should celebrate because if Joe Biden feels comfortable enough to move Kamala Harris off of her border duties,
border's been solved, man.
The border's been solved. Congratulations! All right.
It's kind of rude of you to imply that
nice.
it's still going on. I mean, she had that taken care of months ago.
Yeah, she was the border czar. We've obviously taken care of that, and now here we go. Let's roll with some gun prevention, gun violence prevention. I love it. That's good for me. That Joe Biden excerpt brought to you by Mac Maury.
I'm so sorry. I've subjected you to that.
I asked Mac earlier if we could do Mac Attack, Friday Mac Attack, a little earlier.
Yeah.
So that we had a little time to talk with Brian after the bottom of the hour news, and you said sure, and then you kept us waiting. So we went to Crazy Uncle Joe. See what he's doing. That's right. Did you? I don't know if you're aware of it, but today is the day before. It's Fall Eve, is what it is.
Yes.
Yes.
See, Fall Eve I don't mind because fall is a season.
And it's also a perfectly serviceable word.
Christmas Eve I don't mind because it's the day before Christmas.
Because it'll happen once a year.
Once a year. Fall Eve happens once a year. Friday Eve is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, which leads me to the airing of the grievances. All right, let's do this. I I don't know how we can mishmash this into Friday Mac Attack, but if Belkay has the ability, he can do a mix-up and go ahead to Friday Mac Attack, because I expect that there will be an airing of the grievances, considering that McMurray was late, as soon as we get Friday Mac Attack going, which happens right now. Yeah.
Can't help but think about the voice guy every time. Every time.
He's so good. He's so good.
Just multiple times. Whole segment of Cougar Chow.
They want me to say what?
Yeah, exactly.
They want me to say what? Cougar Chow. What does this even mean? I don't understand. Someone called Man Dandis and get him on the phone. I'm the big voice guy. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, man?
Friday.
How's your Friday going?
Oh, man, I'm excited.
I just found out I'm going to the Auburn, Georgia game. How about that?
Oh, nice.
Jordan Hare Stadium, Montgomery,
Let's go.
or Auburn, Alabama. How
You
about
and
that?
Erica
Not
will-
this weekend, next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah. Georgia, glory, glory to Georgia.
It's
glory,
unnecessary.
glory to Georgia. To hell with Georgia Tech. That's the original. So I'm kind of excited. Not this weekend, but next weekend. I just discovered that moments ago. So
And
I'm
this weekend going to the Vandy, Georgia game?
No.
or-
That's not this
That was-
weekend.
it was a
That's
few
like
weeks. Okay.
mid-October. Yeah.
Who do y'all got this weekend?
We have UAB, University of
Oh,
Alabama,
my gosh.
Birmingham,
Such
the
a
UAB
joke.
Blazers. Look, I don't make the schedule. If I made the schedule, we'd play the number one team in the country every week. Oh wait, that's us.
Wait. Oh, funny.
I listened to you. I heard you and Ken Weaver. Wasn't you and Ken Weaver doing this?
Oh, yes. Yes, it was.
I got a bone or two to pick with you. I'm airing of the grievances right now. Do you know what airing of the grievances is, by the way? Do you know what Festivus for the rest of us is? It's okay if you don't. It's a little bit of a dated reference. So Seinfeld, you know Seinfeld?
Yes, of course.
Seinfeld, George Costanza's father, Mr. Costanza,
Yeah.
did not celebrate Christmas. He celebrated Festivus. He said that Festivus was for the rest of us. He created a religious holiday called Festivus, in which there was a Festivus pole.
Yeah, they didn't have a tree. They had an aluminum pole.
They had a pole. And Festivus involved feats of strength, in which Mr. Costanza forced George to wrestle him during
that's
the
perfect.
celebration. There were other things involved. I forget what some of the others were, but Festivus always started with the airing of grievances. And I got a lot of problems with you people. So listen up.
You got to hear about it.
And so we decided, considering that Festivus begins during the fall season, that we would air our grievances with pet peeves. I've already done drivers on their phones, which is what with the impetus. And I got a bone to pick with you. So you're back there with Ken Weaver, illustrious news director. I mean, the finest newsman.
Oh, yeah.
And present company excluded. The finest newsman you'll ever listen to. Wait, no, present company included, actually. Finest newsman you'll ever hear.
Jerk.
And the news department is back doing what the news department does, which is gossip. And they're talking about, and I overhear this, they're talking about my Georgia Bulldogs. In this way, they're like, hey, Ken, who do you think the real number one team is? And Ken's like, oh, I don't know. Well, there's Notre Dame. What about Notre Dame? They talk about Notre Dame for a minute. Oh, Ohio State. They talk about Ohio State. What about the Wolverines? They talk about the Wolverines. What's going? I ask you, McMurray. What's up with that?
Well, hey, nice. The exact question was, who's the superpower in college football? And we kind of came to the conclusion that there wasn't one, because on defense, it still is the Georgia Bulldogs. There's no question.
Okay.
But offensively, I guess you could say it's USC, because Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in football.
Uh-huh.
College football.
Uh-huh.
Patrick Mahomes would be the best quarterback in football. But yeah, so you don't really have that offensive superpower.
Did you hear about his injury, by the way?
Nope.
I didn't either. I was just asking.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I mean, yeah, it's a fun little conversation. But you're right. Maybe a little disrespectful for the back-to-back champs.
Look, I don't think we know. In all seriousness, I don't think that the Bulldogs have shown us anything to believe that offense, as it exists today,
right now, exactly,
can survive unscathed with some of the teams that they're going to face. Teams with far better defenses and teams with better offenses that have the ability to keep up and overcome the Georgia
and capitalize off of the mistakes that the offense has been making. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's
early.
And those of us who have PTSD over the Mark Richt era, which Mark Richt was the king coach of very good. He was, you're going to get 10 wins out of the man. You're also going to get an inexplicable loss to Vandy or an inexplicable loss to Kentucky or, pick your team, whatever, that screws over the whole season. And you never get to the mountaintop. And Mike Bobo was the offensive coordinator for about 4 or 5 seasons of the Mark Richt era. And for the life of me, I don't understand why Kirby Smart decided to bring him back. But look, he's the head coach. He brought us 2 national championships. I'm going to defer to him.
It's hard to question him. Yeah.
But those of us with PTSD, we watch the games, and those games look so similar to the crap that we endured 5 and 8 and 7 years ago, whatever it was. So I don't know. It's
going to be an interesting storyline to watch. I didn't even know about that. So Mike Bobo. Okay. Well, yeah, because y'all lost Todd Monken.
Yeah.
Why does Jason hate you?
Jason's always saying some stuff to me. What's Jason saying now? Can we read it on the air?
No.
Usually we can't.
It's about Patrick Mahomes, and we can't read it on the air.
I just read it. Oh, my God.
Jason. I'll read the first part.
Will you?
Yeah, I'll read the first part.
Yeah, stop at the comma, please.
Jason wrote, I heard that Patrick Mahomes hurt his mouth. And then there's another part that I can't read. You can fill in the blanks. That's all. Jason,
very clever.
You kiss your mama with that text message finger? That's awful. But this is not the Matt Murphy attack, although so far I've been attacking you.
Fair.
This is Friday Mac Attack. What's on your mind? You got a pet peeve? You got a frustration? You got a gripe?
So what are so you've walked through, texting on the phone. What else have we? What are the big? What's the Mount Rushmore?
Driving gripes. The Mount Rushmore. I think the Mount Rushmore, beyond even texting and driving, for me, the Mount Rushmore is people driving in the left-hand lane when they are going slower than the flow of traffic in that lane. So if you're on I-65 or 40 or 24, let's take an interstate, and you're driving down the interstate, and there's a person in the left-hand lane. Let's say the speed limit is 70. Let's say they're going 70 because it really doesn't matter, 65 or 70. And you come up behind them, and they're in the left-hand lane.
Yep.
Now, it is from an old-school perspective, from a rules of the road perspective, the left lane on a 2-lane road like that is considered the passing lane. You are to pass to the left, and people have forgotten to get over, or they don't care anymore. So they stay in the left lane. So that bottles up the left lane, especially when you have a more, high-density traffic situation. So I am forced to pass them on the right, which I should not have to do. So now people...
it's more unsafe.
Oh, of course, because now people have begun to anticipate that the left-hand driver is not going to get over, and they get over, and then the left-hand driver gets over, and now we got a quack.
And this guy behind you that was
trying to
pass,
swoop.
and you're going, okay, well, I just got, what the heck?
And now I'm screwed. I got pinched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because of this schmuck that won't get over and follow the basic rules of the road.
You have 2 options. Get over, speed up. That's it. If you're in the left lane, someone's behind you. Speed up, get over.
That is exactly right.
And honestly, speed up's kind of annoying.
And what they invent, some of them, not all of them, but what a lot of times will happen, when you get to the right, they speed up.
Speed match. Don't speed match me.
What are you doing?
Don't ever do that. Yeah, I hate the speed matchers. That's a big pet peeve. Okay, so we got that.
So for me, what I try to do, and I don't advise anyone to do this because I don't want to get you in a road situation, but what I will do on occasion, if the time is right, is I will get over, I will pass them on the right, I will get back in front of them in the left-hand lane. So pass on the right, get back in front of them, and then slow down and drive slower than they're slow. So you do exactly to them what they are doing to you, and watch how angry they get.
So mad.
They get so mad at you. I'm doing exactly to you what you did to me.
Yeah, this is what just happened. Yeah, no, exactly.
It's
and
okay
you're mad
if I do it, though. It's not okay if you do it.
Well, because people, and here's my bigger thing. I'll tell you my bigger thing in a moment. It's 223, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And then I'm going to shut up and let it be Friday Mac Attack, because it's not Friday Murph Attack. It's Friday Mac Attack. By the way, did you hear we had a caller that was talking about vandalism, very similar to the vandalism that happened here at our station?
Oh.
Yeah, there's a guy named Chad called the show and kept calling me Mark, but whatever. 223, Super Talk. Kraft Body Scan is a stop that I believe that you need to make in your health journey. And let's talk about exactly what I mean, because it's a CT scan technology that has been growing. I mean, the leaps and bounds that this technology has made over just the last 5 or so years has been incredible. And I was talking to the crew at Kraft Body Scan during their grand opening in Nashville, and they were telling me as much. Since 2017, they've been offering CT scans to the public in a way that helps you, before you become symptomatic, identify problems that might be going on in your body. It is a peace of mind that you cannot get anywhere else but Kraft Body Scan. And right now, in an effort to offer you that peace of mind, they're offering you a $149 scan. That is a couple's scan, and they'll scan your heart and your lungs for that amount of money. $149. This is way below cost, folks, and they want to do so to introduce you to the body scan and introduce you to a way of understanding what's going on in your body unlike any other that you ever experienced. 615-436-1000, 436-1000, or go to craftbodyscan.com. That's craft with a C, bodyscan.com for more information. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Kraft Body Scan. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We have yanked Mac Morey from news duties to insist that he offer us a Friday Mac Attack. It is 2:28, and he's doing said same as we speak. It's kind of a themed Mac Attack, what with pet peeves running abound. There's one other that I want to tell you about, but I want to hear from you. I want to know, I mean, is there anything that comes to your mind absent driving? Because texting and driving slow in the left-hand lane, I mean, everybody's got one of those. But anything else that come to your mind? Getting called the wrong name by coworkers. Ooh. That's awful. It's horrible.
Yeah, or
like
super
if I were to-
texters.
or super texters. I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be awful.
I don't know if this is a pet peeve, but Hannah gets extremely mad at me about this, and this may just be a relationship thing. So you can kind of, chime in here,
okay,
and tell me if
No,
you've had
it's
this
your
experience. It's probably my fault. Interrupting. Okay, so this is the thing. Interrupting. And you know what Hannah does to me every time I interrupt her? She's got this thing, and I showed her videos. This guy on a podcast did it, so now she does it every time I interrupt her, and she just goes, as soon as I start talking, you just interrupt me. I'm talking right now. Oops.
Still talking.
The middle of my sentence isn't a good time to start speaking. And I'm like, oh gosh, I was just interjecting, and so that's a big one. That's a big one, but not for me. I mean, usually.
Here's what works for me. Here's what I would encourage you to do
please.
the next time this happens between you and Hannah. This is good advice here. So she's speaking, right? And then you interrupt, and then she's going to give you the
oops,
and you say, I apologize that you were saying something that was so obvious. I know what the end of the sentence is going to be. And so I just jumped ahead in my mind to where you were going. I'm sorry for that. And see how that works.
Yeah, that's good.
See how
That'll
that
go
goes for you.
great.
See how that goes for you.
Oh, great. You got an extra couch to sleep on or something?
I'm sorry that your way of thinking is so obvious to us higher intelligent beings that I can anticipate the words that come out of your mouth before they ever come out of your mouth. You should go. I mean, I don't know. It's just a suggestion.
Oh, Erica, I don't know. I don't know how you do.
So here's the funny thing. So I knew I was going to do this.
Okay, great.
And I said, hey, I'm doing some pet peeves on the show today. What are some of mine that I might not notice that get under my skin? And what do I do to you that annoys you?
Love it.
And she said fork on teeth, which I can tell you about in a minute. People using the wrong word, like nemesis instead of nemesis, or supposedly.
Same.
And
Same.
And then she said, "Oh, you don't annoy me, honey, ... Would you like your list alphabetical or numerical?" And then the next thing,
yeah,
you interrupt and you don't let people finish their thought. Wow. Me included.
Wow.
So this tells me that you and I are on an intellectual plane.
Yeah, we're further
so far ahead. Or we're just rude. Or we're just rude.
I mean, it's being really rude. I think that might be what it is.
Hannah, I'm so sorry for Matt. Now you apologize to Erica.
Erica, I'm sorry for Matt. I don't know how you deal with it.
I don't know how you deal with it either, Hannah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the flowing hair that gets you through the night. I don't know.
You know, Erica, Matt and I promise that we're going to kind of tone down our intellectual advancements and just kind of... Wait. I'm just kidding.
That's
not
good.
okay.
I know. I see. I do it with impunity because I know Hannah doesn't listen to my show. The problem is Erica is out there. He's listening. She's taking notes.
That's very true. Very true.
All right. Can you stick around, or you got to go? You got to go take your driver's exam or whatever you're doing. Was I supposed to talk about that?
I am doing that. Yeah. I can stick around.
For the love, I gotta pay it off now. Mac Morey is about to get thrown in jail.
Oh, no.
More coming up in a moment. It's 2:32 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief has been around over 30 years now, and for that length of time, they've been helping people with chiropractic care. But since they started their practice, they've brought new technologies into the city of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. Technologies like spinal decompression that everybody has now, but Dr. Gill was the first. He was on the cutting edge of the spinal decompression technology, and he remains on the cutting edge of technology like their Class 5 laser system, their red light therapy, as well as spinal decompression, all designed to pinpoint inflammation in the body, reduce pain, swelling, and accelerate healing. That's what it's all about. Get you healed up without the need for popping pills, without the need for needles, and certainly without the need for surgery. How about giving Dr. Gill a call? Schedule an appointment today. If you have knee pain, back pain, elbow pain, anywhere that it hurts, they can fix it at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. 615-882-4838, 882-4838. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems. You know, life is a dangerous place to live. You know that? And it's a dangerous world and seems to be getting more and more dangerous on a day-to-day basis. That's why you need Defend Systems. I tell you all the time that hope is not a plan, and that is true. Hope is not a plan. The odds of you experiencing workplace violence, the odds of you experiencing someone that would come into your workplace or your school or your place of business and engage in an act of violence are very, very low. And let's be clear about that. They are minuscule, but they're not zero, and that is the point. Do you have an action plan? Do you know what the security situation in your place of business is? Do you know in your church or in your school if you have a rapid response medical plan or an emergency or an intruder action plan? If you don't know the answer to these questions, please call Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems and get the answers that you need in your school, in your office, in your place of business, and in your church. Reach out today at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or defendsystems.com. That's defendsystems.com. Having a bit of fun on a Friday. And look, we're monitoring the news. The president has now opened up an office of gun protection with Kamala Harris as the czar. We've got other news stories. There's a UAB announced that they are furthering their strike. UAB. Did I say UAB? I meant UAW. UAB is who Georgia will thrash this weekend in collegiate football. My apologies.
Mind.
Yeah, I know. I can't help myself. I'm. You know what? I've got a week in mind right now. I feel like Dan Mandis at 2:38. You know, I told Mandis this morning, and I love the man like a brother. Okay.
Oh, he's great.
Dan is fabulous, but listening to Dan at 8:30 on a Friday morning. I mean, it is like he's
checked out.
It's like he's crawling out of the coal mine, man. It's like he has been slaving.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done with this.
Oh, this week has been so tough.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, guys, I'm just done. I'm toast. I can't handle it.
Like, what happened to you?
Like, what are you doing? That man is in the what's happening at 5:45 while I'm still asleep? I have no idea. I love it when Dan asks me how his show went. And I don't know if he knows this or not, but any answer I give him is 7 to 9, right? Like,
yeah.
I hope he doesn't think I'm evaluating the show at 6:30.
No.
Nah.
Well, he just assumes you're there at 5 o'clock and you stay until the end of the show, and he wants your professional program director opinion.
Oh, yes. And if he asks, that's exactly right. Sure. All right. So do you have anything that rises above the pet peeve level? Because Erica mentioned the scraping the fork on the teeth. For me, that's not just a pet peeve. It's not just that I don't like it. Like, I've had experiences, I don't know what it does, but it does something neurologically to me where I have to get out of the room.
ASMR? ASMR, when sound affects you physically.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Where,
ASMR.
I mean, I didn't know.
It's like you can hear a certain sound and it'll give you goosebumps or it'll give you the chills.
And this something goes up my spine. And like, I've been in situations where, and you don't find them very often because frankly, not a lot of people do it, but a guy was scraping his fork and I said, I hate to do this, but I'm like, we're at dinner. And I said, would you mind stopping that? And I said, I'm sorry, but it is affecting me in a way that is difficult for me to explain. And the guy thought it was funny, and he did it a couple of times, and I got up and left. I said, I'm not trying. I said, I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not kidding. I can't stay here. And eventually it turned out okay. But I mean, that's the level that I'm talking about when it comes to like next level pet peeve.
Yeah.
No? Anything?
It's like some people have that with like nails on a chalkboard. Other people could care less if they ever hear it.
Nails on a chalkboard is a good example of what I'm talking about. That I can't physically stay in a room if something like that's going on.
I don't think I have anything like that. I think no. All
You
mine
sure?
are pet.
Voice of Chris Hand? No, not yet.
Chad.
I'm sorry, Chad Hand.
It's Chad. Yeah, it's Chad. No, I love Chad's voice. I think you mentioned it you mentioned it earlier though. The I forgot exactly what you said. Like instead of nonsense or whatever. What were you saying?
What? Nemesis?
Nemesis. Yeah.
Instead of nemesis.
I hate
when people
good and well. Yeah, it went really good.
You mean it went well?
It didn't go good. Never went good. It went well.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Like much could be said about this segment not going well right now.
It's going good.
So can versus
is it going
may.
good?
It's going good.
I think it's going good.
Can versus may. Does that bother anybody?
May I versus can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I let it go, but it does.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. That's fair.
Regardless versus irregardless.
Oh, that one. Okay, now that's it. Hate that one. Irregardless. What? It's not a thing.
You mean no? It's not a thing. You mean regardless
exist.
is what you mean.
Regardless.
It's not a word. And we were discussing earlier. I just like throwing silent consonants into words just to annoy people. I'll have the salmon, please. Thank you. Mm-hmm. What else? What do you got going on this weekend? Anything?
Ooh,
you're a young buck in the beautiful Music City.
Go to the Sounds game tonight. Should be fun.
That's nice. They
good.
Are they in the lead? I should know this.
No,
but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They have
Doesn't matter.
the second highest prospect for MLB, which is cool.
I was about to say, how about this? Speaking of Major League Baseball, so word on the street is that we're about to get a Major League baseball expansion franchise in the next few years.
Yep.
And here's how that happens. They've locked down, I guess Vegas has now got I guess Vegas wants a team and Nashville wants a team. Oakland locked down a new stadium. I think I have this right. Tampa Bay is locking down their new stadium. Once those stadium deals go into play and they know that those teams are staying in their markets, Major League Baseball wants to expand 2 more teams, and Nashville is number 1 with a bullet on that list.
It is. And yesterday there was conversation starting to circulate around the basketball world about moving Memphis Grizzlies over to Nashville. So, I mean, in the next decade, it's very plausible that Nashville all of a sudden is a, four sport city? 5 sport? Titans, Preds, Nashville SC, baseball, and then get a basketball team here. Get the Grizzlies here. That's 5.
I mean, if you want to include the soccer, that's fine.
Oh, my
I'm not going to
gosh.
argue that.
Yes. I'm
That's
absolutely going to include the
fine.
soccer.
We had Messi and, whatever.
If you're talking about, generating revenue and
that's all good.
Messi's going to do it.
The
for
largest
Nashville, that's for sure.
soccer-only facility in North America, right here in Nashville.
That's true.
Good for. So you didn't answer the question. Are you going out?
Yeah. So Sounds game tonight.
Sounds game tonight.
Go watch some football. Hopefully watch Bama lose again. Hannah went to Ole Miss, so I'll be rooting for Ole Miss. And always just rooting against hotty toddy.
Did you see Lane Kiffin? God, he's so good.
What'd he do?
Uh-oh.
Let's Bell.
There's no. That's not Bell. That's Dan Mandis.
Oh, content.
That's Dan Mandis asking for content, non-football related content right now on the radio. I mean,
there you go. There's your content.
I mean, this lends itself to Bama. I lived there for 20 years, right? I was in Alabama. I was in the thick of it for 20 years. And Bama fans think that everybody hates them. But there's a reason for that. And I try to explain to them that it's because of you. It's you. It's not us, right? There's a reason that you get yelled at. You come home 2 hours late stinking of the bourbon, right? We're going to yell at you. When that happens. So you're acting this way, you're going to get responded to this way. And now a lot of my Bama friends are, why is everybody rooting against them?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Come on.
You were Goliath forever. Everybody else was David taking pot shots. Of course we're rooting against you. We love seeing you suffer.
This is great. You guys not having a quarterback? This is awesome.
Awesome. I mean, you had Tua, you had Jalen Hurts. You couldn't win a national championship with one of the finest quarterbacks that came through your system in Bryce Young.
Mac Jones.
Thank you, Georgia Bulldogs. You had Mac Jones. You got all these quarterbacks. So,
AJ McCarron, keep going.
Yeah.
Screw it. I love it. I'm excited. I love it. I'm excited. So, watch
Plus,
football
I like seersucker. I think Ole Miss, they're known for their seersucker down there.
Yes.
You ever been to the Grove?
I have. Hannah and I went 2 years ago. I want to go again.
I would expect.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Or be an Ole Miss fan and all.
Yeah, she took her to Rocky Top. She took me to the Grove.
No, Juice Kiffin posted on social media. Juice being Lane's dog.
Oh, great. Okay,
so Lane Kiffin's dog has a Twitter
account.
And
naturally.
Juice posted that, hey, we're going to Tuscaloosa, and they've got 18 5-stars, and we only have 3 5-stars. I'm scared, Daddy. Why would and said something like, why would Grandpa do this to us? Because Lane Kiffin has said in the past that, Nick Saban's his daddy. So that would make Nick Saban Juice's granddaddy.
Grandpa.
And Lane Kiffin responded to Juice's quote-unquote post, it's okay, son. You don't have to go there. Tuscaloosa's a scary place for a little puppy. You can stay home. And that was nice.
That is nice.
Isn't that good?
That's very good.
You think Ole Miss got a shot?
Oh, I mean, more than a shot. Absolutely. Ole Miss has looked really good. Jackson Dart, I mean, they actually have a quarterback now. I mean, Matt Corral was really good. I think Dart has the chance to be better, but we'll see.
Here's my prediction. I think they get it together in Tuscaloosa, and Jalen Milroe comes back and just destroys Ole Miss. That's what I think. But I do think Alabama loses 1, if not 2 more games this season. LSU and Tennessee being the 2 primary contests.
Got to see Tennessee do something here, but I like it.
You a little frustrated with that quarterback situation yet?
Yeah, I am, which I kind of thought that could happen because, when the first thing that you talk about with your quarterback is, he can throw it 85 yards. I don't really care. I don't care.
When are the scenarios where you're going to throw it 85 yards in a game?
It just never happens.
Right.
Never happens. So I don't really care when and then the next thing is, dude, he's 6'5" too. So now you've named 2 things that don't really reflect to success on the football field. So that worried me. That always worries me. I don't like that when you're talking about quarterbacks. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I'm ready to bring in Nico. Don't know how to say his last name yet, but it's our 5-star.
You're calling on your backup already?
If the offense, we're headed into week 4. Yeah, I need to see the offense look really good this week.
That's the thing, and I watched Auburn do this for a number of years under the I forget his name. It wasn't Freeze. It was and it wasn't Gene Chizik either. It was the guy that came after Gene Chizik. Oh, I can see his face, but you guys know who I'm talking about. That when your offense, when the entire structure of your offense is quarterback dependent,
yep,
that is such a and I do think Josh Heupel, you've got to have a good person behind center that is a good decision maker behind center. And I understand it's a system-based deal, but you see what happens when you don't. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, of course.
I mean, I understand you need a good quarterback regardless. Yeah.
All right.
Fine. You know what? Fine. For those 3 of you enjoying that conversation, Bell K says no more. Brian Wilson's coming up next. He'll tell us what's going on the drive. Probably less football talk, although we doing a little Mac Maury Wild World of Sports?
Max Wild World of Sports, 525. Tune in.
I love that. That's appointment setting on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
An update on Senator Bob Menendez, the war on Ukraine, plus the cost of an Amazon Prime subscription not increasing next year, but there will be a notable change to Prime Video. That and more 3 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, that, McMorey, will keep me listening because I am an Amazon Prime subscriber, and I also enjoy Amazon Prime Video, and so I want to know what that is. We'll be listening at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't want to get in front of your Bob Menendez story, but my favorite part of this bribe money scandal was the fact that he had a jacket which was emblazoned with his name on it that he had stuffed money inside of and put in his closet. That was his way of hiding the money. I guess that's an official way of laundering money in Bob Menendez's world. Hey, there's the laughter of Brian. Well, that's my goal when I know Brian's on the line, to get him to laugh at something or another. Hey, Brian, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going well. I heard your conversation earlier with McMorey about pet peeves.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one. And boy, I'm telling you, it stands on my last nerve.
All right.
And it's not about driving, although, it sort of might go there on occasion. My pet peeve, and believe me, it is something I work on every day, and I've never been able to conquer it, is I hate to have my time wasted, and that especially comes out when people are not where they say they're going to be when they say they're going to be there. People who are always tardy drive me crazy. To me, it's just like one of the rudest thing you can do, because what you're saying to someone is, my time's more important than yours.
You know, an offshoot of that too, Brian, and in some way I feel like Brian's telling me that I'm always tardy for our segment together. But that's
I wasn't. That wasn't where I was going.
Because I often am, sadly. But an offshoot of that is, I try my best. If I'm having a conversation, Matt Murphy and Brian Wilson are sitting down and talking. If my phone goes off, I try not to look, because I think that's rude to you. I feel like it's rude to the person that I'm talking with, unless that's my doctor on the phone telling me that I have a brain tumor or something or another. That phone call can wait, because you should be the most important thing in my worldview at that very moment. So I try not to do that either. I try to be considerate of the person that I'm in front of with their time while I'm there, and of their time before I get there. That's a good one. That's a good point. Yeah. What's going on?
I guess if you really want to boil it down, my real problem is I'm just impatient. That's all I am. I'm just really an impatient individual. I have no patience.
The world would be so perfect if there weren't any people in it. You know?
That's right. Well, we're going to talk about Menendez. I mean, I'm going to. They have the 911 call from the F-35 pilot, and more Biden gaffes. I mean, it's a laugh riot. We'll have all of that coming up on the drive.
We look forward to it. Brian Wilson in the drive from 3 until 7 this afternoon, putting a capper on the week and getting you into the weekend in the right fashion. Can't wait for that, and can't wait for Monday. High noon on Monday, we'll be back, and we wish that you will be with us. It is the Matt Murphy Show. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll talk to you on Monday. Brian Wilson's next.